What's up? What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome back to the channel. We got to talk about something today that we've been talking about for a little while now. Is the possibility of the United States going into a recession, and that possibility seems to be becoming more and more likely as these days move forward. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get right after. I'm gonna show you the evidence, and I'm gonna show you kind of how we're gonna play this thing, how I'm gonna play this thing, and some data that goes back years to kind of back up why we're going to play this recession the way that we're going to play it. This is some important stuff because we talked about this for a while that I thought and I believe that the United States was going to go into a recession very soon here. They printed way too much money. They spent way too much money. And you know what? Now it's time to pay the bill. And ultimately, we have to pay the bill, and when you print so much money and now you have to pay interest on that money, and the interest that you're paying on that money is more than what you're paying on a national defense, and you're going to have problems. And this has been going on ever since. Yeah, I think Bill Clinton was the last president to actually put out a balanced budget. And every president after that has just blown up the budget and blown up the national debt. So now it's time to pay that bill. The United States looks like it's going into a recession. Let's go ahead. Let's get right into it. Let's look at this and let's talk about why I'm saying what I'm saying. So we have a report over here from one of the Fed chairs, and if you guys know the Fed chairs, the Fed chairs and stuff like that, they get all of this information and all of this data long before we do, and are able to digest this and figure out what they're going to do with rate cuts and why we're going to get the rate cuts that we're going to get. And it just says just in one of the Fed officials. Hold on, let me one of the Fed officials here, Goldsby, Goldsby says that it basically that a recession might be rising. So the risk, the recession might be rising, and how they look at whether or not this recession is going to happen or not. Right before it was a low probability, now it becomes a high probability that we're going to get into a recession. We knew this. Anybody living in the real world knows that inflation's been out of control, interest rates have been out of control, the amount of money that we're spending has been out of control. So the risk of a recession is more likely than not, and that's coming directly from a Fed chair. That's not coming from any political stuff, and we're not going to get into the political stuff here. This is going to be strictly facts based, right? So you got this Fed chair coming out saying, somebody that works on the Fed coming out and saying this probability is more likely. So let's go ahead. Let's look at, we know we have rate cuts coming, and now we know that we have a probability of a recession coming. So let's go ahead and we're going to look at a chart to show you what happens when these rate cuts actually are put into effect, how it affects the stock market, and how you guys should play. So now that we know that a recession is more likely than not, and that we're going to start probably getting not probably, we will start getting rate cuts in September. Let's look at this chart over here from Schroders, a very well known financial institution, who's mapped this out, mapped each rate cut out since 1928. And we're not going to go all the way back to 1928 to look at this, but each dot on this chart, like right here, right, and right here, these all represent rate cuts. This is when the federal government started cutting rates, right? Right here, and how this affected the stock markets, right? So let's just go ahead and have a look, at the rate cuts that happened. We can just pick any year here. So we'll pick this one right here, right? I think this right around 2008. So it's kind of relevant, right? So when you look and see the Fed started to cut rates back in 2008. We all know what happened in 2008. It was an absolute disaster, right? You've seen the stock market absolutely tank out, right? It absolutely tanked out. It traded sideways for a couple years and then started to move itself up, right? Big gain here, probably about 30%, right? They started cutting rates here again. The stock market tanked. A little bit less time, it traded sideways. It started to come back up to where we are now, right? And we're making monster gains here, right? The stock market has been on an absolute tear. So we are making monster gains to current day. And you can look at any one of these dots and it's represents the same thing. Like rate cut here, tank out, run up, rate cut here. It did run up after this rate cut. So, but all in all, usually more than likely this scenario is going to play itself out. See, rate cut here, tank, run up, rate cut, tank, run up, run up. So this same song, same dance, right? So when we start cutting rates here in September, what to expect, right? What to expect, what to do. First thing is, don't freak out. When if the stock market starts to crash, don't freak out, right? Because it's gonna happen, right? And don't panic sell, right? If you wait, if it starts to tank and you're holding on to stocks, don't panic sell because you're gonna end up crying about it later. And I don't want you guys on my video or on my stream talking about the wouldas, couldas, and shouldas and crying about losing money with your stocks because you panic sell. Don't worry about it, right? It's gonna crash. We know it's gonna crash. It's probably gonna trade sideways for about 12 months, 12 to 24 months, somewhere up in there. Best thing to do, have your money on the side, right? Just have some money sitting on the side. And as it starts to go down, start putting a little bit of money in, a little bit of more money in, because you never know where the bottom is, right? Nobody can call the bottom. So you start putting a little bit of money in, a little bit more money in, a little bit more money in. That's what they call dollar cost averaging your way down, right? And you'll be happy that you did that on that next big run up because as you guys seen, there was 20 to 30% gains there to be had, right? So you're gonna want to see them gains. So you're going to want to just start dollar cost averaging down further and further and further and further as far as you can. And that's why it's important that you just don't go take all your money and throw it all in at once, right? So let's say you got $1,000 to invest in the market, you might put 100 in here, 100 in here, 100 in here, 100 in here. If it starts to turn around and go back up a little bit, that's fine. No big deal. But understand that these gains come after 12 or 24 months, so you have to be willing to hold. And one thing that's always going to happen during one of these crashes is the first 90 days of that crash. It's going to be very volatile. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. So you just don't chase the market, right? If it happens to run up, just wait for it to come back down. Dollar cost average again, but it'll run up, run down, run up for about the first 90 days. It'll be highly volatile. Don't get caught up in that mess, right? Just dollar cost average your way down. It's the best way to do it in the stock market, right? And also, you guys know that we have to talk about crypto. So, excuse me. So let's talk about how Bitcoin plays into this, right? So Bitcoin has been under a massive, massive selling pressure as of lately, right? We know this, and you guys know I sold out of Bitcoin at $73,000 and just been buying a little bit every since, getting myself back into it. But that's either here nor there at this point. I sold out way up here, way over here in March for mine. But where are we at now, right? That's what matters, right? So what we have is we moved to the hourly chart instead of the day chart. So this news broke right about here, up in here somewhere, right? Right up in here. So what you've seen is Bitcoin going on a little bit of a run here as the news broke that the recession possibility was actually getting ready to probably play itself out. And over the past couple hours, it's actually been on a little bit of red candles. But this is where Bitcoin's going to get put to the test right now, right? Because Bitcoin, if we happen to go into the recession, Bitcoin is a historic value, right? Kind of like gold. Gold is a historic value. Bitcoin has been labeled as a historic value as well. So, how well is it going to work as a hedge against inflation, right? So, are we going to see people now start to flow their money into gold and into Bitcoin for safety as this market starts to shake itself out, right? That's going to be something that's going to be pretty interesting to watch because Bitcoin has never been through a recession before, even though not a recession when it's been up this high, right? So, but it's going to be a good test. Is this a real hedge against inflation? Our countries and banks and everybody else really looking at this like a hedge against inflation, like they say they are, right? And we know Venezuela, for example, they're a Bitcoin country. Everything over there is Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. That's like Bitcoin cities and everything else. So let's see if this really works itself out as a hedge against inflation. It's going to be interesting to see. And I'm going to play Bitcoin just like I play the stock market as that crash happens. well, actually, as that crash happens, we're going to look at Bitcoin and we're going to see if it starts to run up. And obviously, the days leading up to any type of rate cut or any type of recession talk, we're going to look at Bitcoin and see, is it running up, right? Is people using it as a hedge against inflation? If they are, then the longer that chart is down in the stock market, the 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 more that Bitcoin chart's going to flow upwards, right? It's gonna flow up because people are flowing money in, right? So one, I'm happy I got back into Bitcoin and we started to buy back in. And two, I'm actually very interested to see how this thing's going to play itself out. So we are headed for a recession. That's how we're going to play it. That's how DG's going to play it, right? That's how I'm going to play it. Um, I'm going to actually go ahead and really probably not buy any stocks for a little while. And I'm going to start just really socking my money away and waiting to see if we go into a recession. I'm going to try to buy that dip and buy that crash, right? And hang on. And then I'm going to try to buy every single dip after that. And then I'm going to be looking at Bitcoin right now. And I'm going to say, okay, as this recession talk starts to heat up, is Bitcoin starting to run up? And if it is starting to run up, I'm going to start, putting a little bit more money in there. I already have money in there, but I'm going to start putting a little bit more in there, and I'm going to play that ride up, right? So these are the things that I'm going to be paying attention to. But we are headed for a recession, more than likely. So buckle up, get ready. Boy, oh boy, there's going to be a lot of money to be made here over the next 3 years. And everybody that's dependent on your 401ks or your pension plans for retirement, I hope you plan on working. If this happens, I hope you plan on working for about another 15 to 20 years, because that's about what it's going to take for that thing to recover fully from everything that you're going to lose during a recession. So if that is your plan, you may want to start looking into a different plan to subsidize some of that, either a pension or a 401k, because pensions are secure, but ultimately pensions make their money inside of the stock market, right? So if the stock market's down, the pensions are down, which means what? They have to raise the taxes on taxpayers to make up for the losses in the pension. And during a recession, rates go down. It gets to be a mess, right? So just prepare and buckle in. And with that, you guys go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. Kick us up in the old algorithm. Appreciate you guys. Back at you guys with another one. Have a great day. We up out of here. Bye.